Men, here's something female psychology reveals that most men completely miss. Guilt always leaks out through behavior, no matter how hard someone tries to contain it. Today, we're breaking down 7 sudden behaviors women consistently display when guilt is eating them alive from the inside. Before we dive in, hit subscribe, smash that like button, and hit the hype by dropping a comment if you've ever witnessed a sudden change in her behavior that didn't make sense at the time, but now you realize it was guilt manifesting. 1. Sudden, over-the-top affection. Out of absolutely nowhere, with no obvious catalyst or relationship improvement to explain it, she becomes dramatically more affectionate than she's been in weeks or months. You're suddenly receiving extra hugs throughout the day, unsolicited compliments about things she hasn't mentioned in forever, increased physical touch, and she's even initiating intimacy when that responsibility has typically fallen on you for quite some time. On the surface, this feels wonderful. It seems like maybe she's finally appreciating you again, like the spark is returning, like things are getting better between you. But here's the uncomfortable truth. It's not genuine love or renewed attraction driving this behavior. It's compensation rooted in guilt. Female psychology demonstrates that guilt drives people to attempt making up for what they've done by overgiving in other areas of the relationship. She's trying to balance the scales in her mind to offset the betrayal with positive actions that make her feel less like a terrible person. It's her subconscious mind attempting to ease the shame she's carrying by proving to herself that she still cares about you, that she's still a good partner despite what she knows she's done. The key indicator here is the sudden, unexplained nature of the change. Real relationship improvements happen gradually, with clear causes you can identify. You can usually trace genuine reconnection back to specific conversations, shared experiences, or mutual efforts to improve things. But when affection dramatically increases overnight, without any corresponding positive changes in your relationship dynamics, without any discussion or acknowledgement of previous distance, you're not witnessing authentic emotional growth. You're witnessing guilt-driven overcompensation that will likely disappear as quickly as it arrived once her guilt subsides or she becomes more comfortable with her betrayal. Pay attention to whether this affection feels authentic or performative. Does it seem like she's trying to convince herself as much as she's trying to show you? Does the timing correlate with other suspicious behaviors or unexplained absences? Guilt-driven affection often comes in waves immediately after she's been with the other person, as if her conscience is demanding she makes some gesture toward you to balance what she just did with him. 2. Random gifts and unexpected gestures. She buys you a gift completely out of the blue with no special occasion to justify it, or she suddenly plans a spontaneous date night when you haven't done anything like that in months, or she goes out of her way to do thoughtful things that seem strangely timed and out of character. These gestures arrive without explanation, without anniversary or birthday or apology to explain them, and something about the timing feels off, even if you can't immediately articulate why. Psychology has a term for this behavior: guilt offsetting. It's a psychological tactic where someone consciously or subconsciously tries to balance out their betrayal with acts of kindness and generosity. The logic operating beneath the surface goes something like this: if I do enough good things for him, maybe that balances the bad thing I did. Maybe I'm not such a terrible person after all. Maybe this proves I still love him despite cheating. She's attempting to convince herself first, and you second, that she's still a good partner worthy of your trust, despite what she knows she's done behind your back. Watch for gestures that seem designed more to make her feel better about herself than to genuinely make you happy. There's often a performative quality to these guilt-driven gifts and gestures, a sense that she needs you to acknowledge and appreciate them more than would be natural. She might ask multiple times if you like the gift, if you appreciate what she did, if you understand how much thought she put into it. The gift isn't really about you. It's about her need to reduce her own psychological discomfort by creating evidence that she's still caring and committed to the relationship. Another telltale sign is when these gifts or gestures happen immediately after she's been out late, after unexplained absences, or following periods when she's been particularly distant or secretive. The timing reveals that she's attempting to preemptively smooth over any suspicion or hurt feelings before you even fully register that something was off about her recent behavior. It's damage control disguised as spontaneous romance. 3. Defensive reactions to innocent questions. This might be the most immediately noticeable shift because it directly affects your daily interactions and communication patterns. Suddenly, simple questions that used to receive straightforward answers now trigger sharp, defensive, sometimes aggressive responses that seem completely disproportionate to what you actually asked. You ask basic things like, "How was your day?" or "Where did you go?" or "Who are you talking to?" or "Why are you home late?" And instead of normal replies, you get hostile responses. "Why do you need to know?" "Are you checking up on me?" "Why are you interrogating me?" "Don't you trust me?" "Why are you being so paranoid?" Even when your tone was casual and your intention was innocent, she reacts as if you've launched a full investigation or directly accused her of wrongdoing. This defensive posturing is pure projection of guilt. Your simple curiosity feels like an interrogation to her because she knows she's hiding something significant. Every question, no matter how innocent, carries the potential to expose her or force her to lie directly to your face, which intensifies her guilt and stress. Her nervous system interprets your normal relationship communication as a threat to her secret, and she reacts defensively to protect that secret even when no real threat exists in your question. The shift from her previous communication style to this new defensiveness is the critical element to observe. If she used to answer questions naturally, if you used to be able to have normal conversations about her day or activities without tension, and now she treats basic inquiries like accusations, something has fundamentally changed in her psychological state. It's not about your questions becoming more intrusive. It's about what she's desperately afraid you'll uncover if she lets her guard down for even a moment. Watch also for how she turns the tables on you. Often, this defensiveness includes counter-accusations designed to make you feel guilty for asking normal questions. She might say you're being controlling, insecure, jealous, or paranoid. This tactic serves dual purposes. It makes you hesitant to ask questions in the future, and it deflects attention away from her behavior by putting you on the defensive instead. 4. Sudden interest in deep conversations about the relationship. Out of nowhere, she initiates serious, heartfelt conversations about us, what you mean to her, how much she values the relationship, how she wants to grow together as a couple, what your future looks like, how important commitment and loyalty are to her, what she loves about you. These conversations appear unprompted, without any obvious trigger or relationship crisis that would naturally lead to this kind of deep reflection. She seems genuinely engaged in these discussions, expressing sentiments about love and loyalty that you haven't heard from her in quite some time, maybe even recalling specific memories from when things were better between you. It sounds authentic and feels like maybe she's finally prioritizing the relationship again, like she's had some realization about how much you matter to her. But psychology reveals this is actually a self-reassurance tactic, not genuine relationship investment. She's not trying to fix anything or strengthen your bond. She's trying to convince herself that she's still committed and loyal despite having already betrayed that commitment. These conversations help her construct a narrative where she can still be a good person and a devoted partner, even while actively cheating or having recently cheated. The timing and frequency matter significantly here. If these deep relationship talks suddenly become common right around the time other suspicious behaviors emerge, if they feel like she's trying to convince herself as much as she's trying to convince you, if there's an almost desperate quality to her need for reassurance that you love her and value what you have together, you're witnessing guilt management rather than authentic relationship growth. Notice also if these conversations include her asking you specific questions about forgiveness, trust, what would make you leave the relationship, or whether you believe people can make mistakes and still love someone. She's fishing for information about how you might react if the truth came out, testing the waters to understand what the consequences might be. She might frame these as hypothetical questions or reference other people's relationships, but she's really asking about your relationship and your potential response to her betrayal. 5. Over-explaining where she's been pay. Close attention to how she answers questions about her whereabouts and activities, particularly comparing her current responses to how she used to communicate about these things. Instead of providing the simple, concise responses she used to give, "I was out with friends," or "I ran some errands," or "work ran late," she now offers elaborate, unnecessarily detailed timelines of every single thing she did, where exactly she was, who she saw, what they talked about, what she ate, what route she took, what time each thing happened, even mentioning minor details about parking or traffic or background elements that no one would normally include in casual conversation. The level of detail feels excessive for such basic questions, and the explanations often include information you didn't ask for and wouldn't normally need. She volunteers specifics about things that don't matter, creates elaborate backstories for mundane activities, and seems to be working very hard to make her account sound credible and unquestionable. Sometimes, these explanations sound almost rehearsed, as if she's been practicing what to say. Over-explaining is a classic behavioral sign of guilt and deception that psychologists and interrogation experts have documented extensively. She's building a wall of details designed to make her story feel airtight and credible, operating under the assumption that more information automatically equals more believability. What she doesn't realize is that this too much information approach typically has the opposite effect. It becomes more suspicious than saying too little precisely because it's so far outside normal communication patterns. Innocent people with nothing to hide provide appropriate amounts of information without overthinking it. They don't rehearse elaborate backstories for mundane activities. They don't volunteer excessive details to prove truthfulness because they're not worried about being doubted. They answer questions naturally, sometimes even vaguely, because they're not concerned that you'll check their story or find inconsistencies. When someone suddenly shifts into over-explanation mode, they're revealing their awareness that their activities might not hold up under scrutiny, so they're attempting to preemptively address questions and doubts before they even arise. Also, watch for inconsistencies in these elaborate stories. Often, when someone provides too many details, they can't keep all those details straight over time. If you casually reference something she said earlier, and her version has changed slightly, or if the timeline doesn't quite work when you think about it later, these inconsistencies reveal that the elaborate story was constructed rather than genuinely remembered. 6. Subtle mood swings and irritability. She seems inexplicably frustrated or moody without clear cause, or she picks fights over genuinely small things that wouldn't normally bother her. How you loaded the dishwasher, a minor comment you made, something trivial about your routine, the way you chew your food, how you asked a question. Her emotional baseline has shifted toward irritability and touchiness, and you find yourself walking on eggshells trying to avoid triggering these unpredictable mood swings that seem to come out of nowhere and escalate quickly. One moment she might seem fine, even happy, and the next she's snapping at you or withdrawing into cold silence over something that objectively doesn't warrant that level of emotional response. The emotional volatility makes your home environment tense and unpredictable, and you might notice that you're constantly trying to read her mood before interacting with her, trying to gauge whether it's safe to have a normal conversation or if she's going to interpret everything negatively. Female psychology explains that guilt often turns inward and transforms into resentment over time. Here's the psychological mechanism: your presence, your normalcy, your trust in her, your continued love and commitment. All of it serves as a constant reminder of her betrayal. Every time she looks at you being a decent partner who trusts her, who loves her, who hasn't done anything to deserve what she's doing, it highlights the contrast between who she wants to believe she is and what she's actually doing behind your back. That psychological discomfort often manifests not as increased guilt, but as displaced resentment toward you. On some level, she starts to resent you for making her feel guilty, even though logically she knows you're not the cause of her guilt. It's an irrational emotional response, but guilt doesn't operate rationally. Your very existence as a trusting, loving partner becomes an uncomfortable mirror reflecting her betrayal back at her. Rather than dealing with that discomfort by stopping the behavior that causes it, she unconsciously redirects that negative emotion toward you, finding reasons to be irritated or frustrated with you so she can avoid sitting with the guilt. These emotional fluctuations are not actually about you, your behavior, or anything you've done wrong. They're manifestations of the internal war happening inside her head as she tries to reconcile the person she wants to believe she is with the actions she's actually taking. The internal conflict creates emotional instability that spills out into your interactions, making her inconsistent, moody, unpredictable, and sometimes cruel in ways that don't match the person you thought you knew. 7. Increased talk about forgiveness or everyone makes mistakes. She randomly brings up concepts of forgiveness, second chances, how people change and grow over time, how everyone makes mistakes and deserves understanding, how relationships require grace and patience, and the ability to move past difficulties. These themes start appearing in casual conversations with odd frequency, sometimes directly related to your relationship, and sometimes framed as general observations about life, love, and human nature. She might reference stories about other couples who worked through major difficulties and came out stronger, or she might philosophically muse about human imperfection and the importance of not judging people too harshly for their worst moments. This seemingly random focus isn't actually random at all. Her subconscious is leaking through, revealing her fears and her hopes for how you might react if the truth ever surfaces. She's engaging in what psychology calls preemptive framing, preparing the ground to soften the potential blow of discovery by establishing values and perspectives that would work in her favor. If she can get you thinking about forgiveness as a fundamental virtue, about mistakes as inevitable parts of being human, about love requiring grace, and the ability to look past imperfections, then maybe, just maybe, you'll be more lenient when you find out what she's done. Notice particularly if these conversations include direct or indirect suggestions that you're the type of person who values forgiveness, or if she seems to be seeking your agreement that people deserve second chances, that relationships can survive betrayal, that what matters is the present, not the past. She's building a philosophical and emotional framework she hopes will protect her from the full consequences of her actions if secrecy fails and truth emerges. Sometimes this manifests as her sharing stories about friends or acquaintances who cheated but were forgiven, carefully watching your reaction to gauge how you feel about infidelity and reconciliation. She might present these stories sympathetically, emphasizing the cheater's remorse or the couple's ultimate happiness, trying to normalize the idea that cheating doesn't have to mean the end of a relationship. Pay attention to how she frames these narratives and what conclusions she seems to want you to draw from them.